taunts that he is now an authoritarian with this National Guard order. President Trump says he's been watching the coverage closely. He sees peaceful scenes like this one. He also said he was watching very closely last night when it was not peaceful. And President Trump does not seem to be worried about this lawsuit over the National Guard order. He said, if anything, if there is a need, they will send more troops in. Martha.
Well, we want peace on the streets there. We'll see where this goes tonight. Peter, thank you very much. Peter Doocy at the White House. So Democrats are blaming President Trump for the anarchy in Los Angeles. Things are a little calmer today, but only after Trump called in the National Guard, and 500 Marines are now on standby. They're ready to take on any anti-ICE demonstrators who were burning cars, blocking freeways, and pelting police officers with objects. President Trump is slamming the destruction and is warning that California Governor Gavin Newsom could be arrested if he interferes with the ICE raids.
Gavin Newsom he's daring Tom Holman to come and arrest him. Did he do it? I would do it because I would, I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity.
What do you make of the fact that he says, you want a civil war on the streets of America?
No, it's just the opposite. I don't want a civil war. A civil war would happen if you left it to people like him. And I like him. I always got along with him. Never had a problem with him. But he's grossly incompetent.
All right, Gavin Newsom, he's firing back. California is suing the federal government over the deployment of the National Guard, and Newsom has been daring Trump officials to arrest him.
Put your hands off these poor people just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. So Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
A little deja vu for you. Despite the clear images of burning cars, Democrats and the media kept insisting that the protests were mostly peaceful.
We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests.
A lot of these peaceful protests are being generated because the President of the United States is sowing chaos.
So I don't know what all this so-called violence is all about.
I'm worried about the safety of the people who are peacefully protesting.
The vast majority of protesters and demonstrators are peaceful. They're passionate.
And Maxine Waters weighed in here with this.
What are you going to do? You going to shoot some kid? He's afraid of being wild? You going to shoot an elected official? If you shoot me, you better shoot straight. I don't know why you're in my city. You did, the governor was not contacted.
All right, we are here on a Monday, big news day, and Jesse Waters said you were watching all of this over the weekend, had some thoughts.
Maxine, no relation. You can't blame U.S. soldiers for the violence. They're trying to lie, just like they lied about Joe Biden. This thing started on Friday, covered it Friday night on primetime, and then it went on into Saturday, and Karen had a stand-down order for the LAPD. She didn't do anything. She let her whole city burn. They only started calling it a riot when Trump mobilized the Guard because they got embarrassed. It was mostly peaceful on Friday and Saturday when the Guard comes in. Then all of a sudden, Trump's triggering violence. It's crazy. They tell us time and time again that only the federal government can enforce immigration law. So when the federal government enforces immigration law, they break the law? No. They are siding with foreign terrorists. If you are waving a flag of your country and you are burning the flag of the country you've come into, you're not an immigrant. You're an invader. And in a way, I'm glad this is happening. I'm glad the whole country gets to see this. This is mass migration laid bare. I'm glad we're seeing them throw rocks at cops. Not that they're doing it. I'm glad the country knows this is not a nuanced position. There's no middle ground here. You either have a law, you either have a border, or you have a country. And that's it. Now, you cannot have immigration without assimilation. Does this look like a melting pot to you? It doesn't look like a melting pot to me. And California has moved right. Every county in the country has moved right. So for the Democrats to side with these people, it's just crazy. There's money in the big, beautiful bill for ICE for these mass migration deportations. You got to do it. Absolutely have to do it. And the pictures that are coming out of this, when you have the Tesla terrorism and you have a guy with a flag over a burning vehicle, you're going to just jam that right down their throats in the midterm elections. And I don't know how the Democrats can survive siding with Mexican flag waving arsonists.
Well, so, and also, Greg, they're burning the American flag and raising the Mexican flag.
It's disgusting. I mean, this attention is really cutting into Pride Month. Seriously, the only thing that should be flaming are the floats.
Exactly.
But okay, so let's follow the cycle that Jesse talks about. The streets are unsafe, so the troops come in to intervene, and the Dems and portray the intervention as an escalation. Haven't you seen this before? They did this with the BLM riots. They did this with the protesters on campus when they would assault students, and then all of a sudden, police better not get there. Israel accused of genocide after October 7th. You can even look at male trans in bathrooms. Men are pretending to be women to go into bathrooms. It's not to avoid attention. It's to get attention, to act out. This is another example of acting out, and then when you react, they accuse you of the aggression. They're like the guy who sucker punches the bouncer and then gets his ass kicked, and then wants to press charges. I think the overarching goal here is to recalibrate risk. Obviously, getting violent, deadly illegals out of the country will lower your risk as a citizen, unless the process creates a counteroffensive that suggests a greater risk, meaning riots. So it's a form of extortion, and you may decide as a California citizen naively that, it's just not worth the trouble. I don't want this mob coming for me. That's what they want to do. And you're right. It's like when you see this, a guy is waving the flag of the country he doesn't want to go back to. It's like a PETA activist wearing a fur coat. It doesn't make sense, and yet we're supposed to nod along and pretend that that's our problem. It's not our problem. These thoughts, I said this earlier last week, these thoughts aren't introduced into our heads. These people expect us to agree with this. No, we don't. We demand, if you come here and you're messing with this country and you're waving a flag and you're saying F America, you're going to hear from us.
And imagine, Kellyanne, well, I love your expertise on the political side of things, or even on the law. Because Gavin Newsom sounds doing the government saying Trump's not allowed to do this. But also, I would imagine that support for deportations will likely go up after people see images like this.
Actually, the president is supporting these deportations in everybody's polling. I think CBS, New York Times, they regret asking those questions when they actually see the data in return. They say, we're not going to do that again. But that's changed over time because we all have 2 eyes and 2 ears that function. And we see what's happening. In addition to everything that's been said here that I agree with, I think people won't be fooled again. The summer of love, as the Democrats insisted it was, cost $1 billion plus that we know of in 2020. And you had all these people from the cappuccino counters and the country clubs Venmoing money to Black Lives Matter. I gotta support them. I gotta put the black square on my Instagram feed. And they got fooled. They got rooked because those folks bought mansions in California, we all saw. And what came of that? Now you're not going to see that. Instead, you see people saying, all I see, the peaceful folks are the law enforcement who are putting their lives on the line, who are out there trying to keep the peace, trying to stop the violence, watching the American flags being burnt while the Mexican flags are being waved. And I think Gavin Newsom wants to be arrested. I think he would be happy to put his hands out right now to Tom Homan or Donald Trump to be arrested. How else to distinguish oneself in a field of no presidential chamber, but all wood chips going into 2028. And I think he wants to do that. He can go on a hunger or fair strike from prison and make himself be the king. Last thing, when Gavin Newsom said to that reporter, that friendly reporter, man, these people are trying to get about their day. But these people are? The White House put out a rolling list of pictures and biographies today. Anybody can pull it in public information. Go to whitehouse.gov. Today, the White House shows you 15 to 20 examples with their names and their rap sheet of who the criminals are who are being deported. This is not umbrella who's been working hard here for 52 years. These are hardened criminals, and it's public information. Everybody can see it. Back to Gavin Newsom, fighting for the Democrats now. are waving Mexican flags, and they have this Maryland dad, a gangbanger, human trafficker, who's being returned to the U.S. Be careful what you wish for. I think his grandmother was right. He returned to the U.S. and he's facing an indictment because for decades he smuggled people, including children.
And Harold, what do you think about the politics of the Democrats suggesting that all of this that we're watching on air is Trump's fault?
So it's good to be back. Hope everybody had a good weekend. I don't agree with that. Whoever's saying that. I think a couple of things. One, you can't defend violence. I don't care what party you're in, what party you're not in. And especially you can't defend violence against law enforcement and first responders. To me, that's what is the most heartbreaking and most tragic. And then obviously you see the property damage and other things. So I'm hopeful that Democrats and Republicans alike, and I actually understand why President Trump considers, I guess we now learned in the last hour that Marines will be deployed. I think it's a risky situation, but when you see situations like this and you see this kind of violence in law enforcement being attacked, I think any president is within his means to do that. Two, to Democrats, stop taking the bait. These people whom are out committing these violent acts are not part of the people I think that many are trying to protect or defend or suggest that they deserve due process. These people deserve to be arrested. They deserve due process. They deserve to be arrested, and those who refuse to refrain or show restraint, the police or law enforcement of that now the military should act against. Finally, I think one of the challenges, and one of our in-house newspapers wrote about today in an editorial, is how do we think about the hierarchy of deportations? I am in the camp that the overwhelming majority of Americans who believe that President Trump is right to deport hardened criminals. We should find ways to find that people like the guy in Colorado who threw the Molotov cocktail effect. We should survey anybody, American or not an American, who's on our soil, who